Last hour.
Every time that I've visited, I've always said, I look forward to returning.
CBS News Brief. I'm Deborah Rodriguez.
And it is time for a special edition of the Ask the Mayor program here on your hometown news station, AM 1300 KGLO. We like Mayor Nelson Crabb joins us for his final program. Mayor, you're supposed to be on last week, but illness does happen this time of year, right? And I just said it on that day. I'm just like, we can move it to next week. I don't care. That's just glad to have you in back in this studio specifically. You know, after so many programs, I don't think you probably had counted the programs like Mayor Schickel did yesterday, but he said he was on Ask the Mayor 384 times.
Oh my.
I don't think you were on that many times, but definitely, 20 years of service and coming over here and talking with, I know you talked with Mark Dorenkamp before I started taking over doing the Ask the Mayor program, but we appreciate you coming in today.
Yeah, pleasure to be here. It's kind of familiarity with the whole area. It's comforting. It really is.
I haven't cleaned out everything here, so still have a few things in the studio, but I want to talk about a few things that have been talked about in the most recent council meetings before we kind of look back at things through the last 20 years with you. And I know the council had a goal setting session last month, and obviously wanted to look at what the goals were set from last year to look at this year, and obviously look ahead to the future. And I know one of the big things that was maybe talked about was creating an infrastructure program for Clear Lake to, obviously infrastructure ages and you've got to replace it. That's one of the always big things that the city has to look at year by year.
Yes. In thinking through this morning's program, that thought came up as well, is that many times we talk about that which is above ground and, how wonderful things are and so on and so forth. And yet it's that below ground infrastructure that really keeps the city alive. And without that, many things are in trouble, so to speak, as we are now, doing almost pretty much what that's was in that strategic plan that you're talking about and that we did a week or so back. But the area from, I call it the fish hatchery, the DNR station there on North Shore, and then West 6th Avenue North goes west from there. That whole little triangle there between North Shore Drive, Highway 18, and the golf course is now actually doing that underground stuff. Of course, they've had to button it up with the weather that we have now, but they will continue it on and complete it in the spring. But that's a whole little section of town that has been designated for several years now as this is where we really need to go in. And then, knowing full well that some of the pipe size in there was put back in, so we say eons back, and the has to come out for fire protection and just plain water is being used at a more rapid rate than it was back then. So all of that structure has had to be replaced, and that takes time. Then you couple it in with the cold weather coming up, and you've got to be real careful that all, that we don't have a water break in the water department. They don't even like me to say the word water break, but that's why we go around and do this. And now this was in the strategic planning to make sure that this is designed each different part of the community so that we can kind of stay ahead of the ball game, at least for a time. But very, very important, not cheap, and that really kind of makes a difference. And this spring, when all the underground is done out there between North Shore and Highway 18, West 6th Avenue in there, then they will go in and resurface the roads in through there as well, because boy, they're really chunked up now. And I really am grateful to many of those residents out there. For a while they had a partial gravel way to their driveway, and patience they've really had, and I really do appreciate that. But you're right, that's a key part of strategic planning.
Capital improvements, something that the city always wants to look at and plan out ahead of time.
Yes, there are a lot of issues that need to be covered right there. I won't get into the specifics of it at this point, because that'll be up to the rest of the council to determine some of the specifics to this planning. But it was a good way of doing things. I felt we had all the department heads there several times as we went through it. We had a facilitator come in who helped us through all that in a very, very helpful way, and looking forward to see all of that come to fruition down the road.
I know another thing that was talked about in that goal setting session was blighted property, and I don't, that's a topic I remember the Clear Lake Council bringing up as an issue that needs to be looked at in the community. Blighted property, blighted properties, and rehabbing blighted properties. That was on Mr. Deere's list of stuff that he was talking about the other day, but we can talk about something else if you want.
Okay,
I mean, there was other things in that goal setting session, that like the library expansion and things like that, because obviously the library's been looking at a potential expansion as well through the last couple of years.
Right, and that the Woodford Wheeler lumber company all came down, and it's really acting very well for us now as extra parking, which during many events we need that, and that's a complaint of a lot of people. But yeah, that still is in process, so to speak. A lot of ideas have come out of that, but that library, you just can't have a library that's I call it a storage space for books. It has to be usable in today's day and age. It's that. So does there need to be an addition to upgrade what we already have at that library, or isn't that necessary? And I think that needs to be looked at. I think that whole piece through there, a lot of ideas have come out of there, but does that fit for that particular area? Is that good for the community? Is it what the community and their needs with regard to connecting it directly to the library is possible to be done?
Taking a look at some of the other things that were talked about at this past or the recent Monday night meeting, city taking over the Clear Lake Youth Athletic League, and obviously that's been a great thing to develop kids through the years, and now the city's going to take that over and continue to operate that.
Yes, and that will go under the recreation department. Troy Tisdall is kind of heading that up at this point in time. He's our director of our athletic and wellness center as well. But yeah, over the years, this has been done, and we've talked about this, Bob, you and I, that at one time there was one gentleman that really kind of did it with the boys and the girls, and the boys and the girls all played on the same team, and kind of down there at Pine Tree Park. It kind of had a start down there, and it went fairly well. I can remember then several of us guys at the time had children coming up, boys and girls, that were interested in playing some type of ball, whether baseball, softball, whatever it might be. And we got together and kind of formed a baseball, softball leagues, plural, for different ages, and followed the Little League design from Williamsport, Pennsylvania out there. Not that we were expecting our kids to get to Williamsport, which is a global deal anymore, but just to have some of the principles down and the hows and the whys and the wheres, and it worked for a while. The insurance got to be an issue in the end, because we felt that the families needed to have insurance, as did the folks out there in Williamsport. All the teams are insured through that group out there, but we split them up into groups from 9 to to 12, and then we went to a Babe Ruth group of 13, 14, 15 for both boys and girls. And anyway, they did fairly well. One of the teams, or the all-star team, made it down to Carroll, Iowa. If you've been down to Carroll, you know that's a great complex down there of ball fields, just wonderful. And now they're doing the same. If you go down to, what is it, Marion, Iowa, they've got a great complex down there where team after team, and you go around to a lot of the bigger areas, suburban areas, and, they have tournaments every weekend. And our kids now still do form little separate teams, I believe, and take off and go all around the state or Midwest for that matter. So, I think that what we did the other night was city council read a proclamation of what it would be like. 3 members of the ball group, shall we say, were there and heard and listened to that and seemed to be satisfied with what was going on. And of course, all willing to help. Everybody's willing to help with that, because I think, will be a great and good change, and the fact that it will be carried on is the key.
One of the other, one of the biggest stories, I think, of the year in Clear Lake probably would have to be the development of the Surf District area. And I know the council, at the first meeting of the month, that Music Experience Center being constructed as part of the surf complex, the council approving a lease with the nonprofit that runs the surf ballroom, the North Iowa Cultural Center and Museum, because technically that is a city building, that Music Experience Center, under the Destination Iowa project.
That's correct. And, perhaps a similar agreement that we have in the past, in the short past really, is the Athletic Wellness Center, and in which the school built it and the city is operating it. And so this may be just turned around here a bit, but the MEC Center, Music Experience Center, was built by the city of Clear Lake, and the operation will be by the surf ballroom group collectively there. And that's what the lease was for. All right. How long is it going to be? Is this been satisfied? It took quite a while to get all the details down on it, but it is complete now, and it will be, I'm sure, very, very workable over time. But that's just a beautiful building, and upstairs with the Palms ballroom area, big area, which will hold about, I believe, around 200 people. That will get used, it has been used a lot. And you have the immersive center downstairs, a wonderful area that takes the history of rock and roll from the big band era, the Glenn Miller, Guy Lombardo, and all those from that big band area, right up through the February 2nd, 1959, of the Buddy Holly Ritchie Valens Big Bopper, playing their last concert there, and a terrible accident that occurred thereafter and continues it on right up through to the present time. I happen to be lucky to have taken a trip out to Boston last spring with other members of the city and the Surf Ballroom, Nickham, North Iowa, Cultural Center and Museum, and to see how all this is going to be put together by Trivium, the people that have actually put together that room, immersive room. And if you haven't been over there to see that, you need to get there, because that touches on practically all the 5 senses that we have when you go through there. It's just wonderful. You get that feeling of really what rock and roll big band and where they're headed with music today. It truly is a museum in its own, and it has a museum outside in the hall area there of different people's guitars, get different signatures on it. A big thing with Les Paul. If you remember Les Paul and Mary Ford, Les Paul was the one that developed the electronic box guitar, really. I think one of the first ones was Gibson, and has gone on from there to this Fender Stratocaster. I sound like I know a heck of a lot about music, and I don't.
I was going to say,
anyway.
I was starting to wonder if I didn't know something about your musical talents with guitars all of a sudden. So,
oh boy, page 2. But it's just a wonderful, wonderful building, and then our rooms there for actual lessons for young people in the area to come and take different types of music lessons. Which music and me didn't get along. I did do my 2 years of piano as my mother told me I would, and 2 years of playing the trumpet as my mother told me I would, and neither one of them kind of fit. But, to carry on, to get that experience, and that's what this is all about. And there are also those rooms there that are kind of the green room for entertainers that would be going across the way and be at the Surf Ballroom. But, that grant, by the way, came out of the Surf District Destination Placemaking _placemaking grant with IEDA, Iowa Economic Development Authority, and Debbie Durham in charge there. And she was a big help. That whole group was a big help. But, placemaking means you got to make this good enough and worthy of being in that particular area where you're putting it. And I look at that as one of the things, when we came to town 60 years ago, that area was really kind of a vibrant entertainment area. In fact, there were 5 different hotels down there, some bigger, some smaller, some perhaps just cabins, but there are none there now. So, the proposed later on for the private hotel that will go where the Hilltop once was, and that will hopefully come to fruition later this spring. That's not a part of the specific grant, but that's in there to complement what we have already going on there. And I think that'd be worthy of putting in there. And a number of studies have been done to say, yes, that is so, that would work and would go there and is necessary there. But that's going to be a key area where the spotlight comes on. You've got the archway now. Eventually you'll have coming down a streetscape on Buddy Holly Place. There'll be an access to the lake, which they're working on, have a good portion of that done. So an exciting area for the community. I look key things there in my time with, make sure that lake is clean and stays clean. That's the big drawer. And the other one, a big spotlight is on that surf area. Bottom line are the people, of course. We know that. Bottom line, it's the people of the community that make the difference. But these two things, that surf area will draw people, and hopefully they'll come and look at the whole town. And that's where placemaking, they may come here and say, oh, well, this would be a good town to live in. We have kids, we have this, and perhaps we can buy, which comes in next to the housing thing that we're working on at the present time. Some which is market rate, some which perhaps will be. We haven't gotten all the way through that in the affordable range. So,
well, in that surf area, obviously looking at, if you look back 10 years, that area needed to be at least looked at for redevelopment, because you had several businesses that had closed in that area. We've seen some businesses return to that area, new businesses return to that area. So, the redevelopment of that area has proven to be a positive so far, just with, things like Lake Pin and Play moving in. That's the one that comes to my mind right away. But, and once again, the proposed hotel, that type of thing, of course, obviously the Destination Iowa project, funds help with that. But once again, that was an area that needed to really be looked at, like you mentioned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. It'll take, tincture of time, as the doctor says. It will get there, but patience, and it certainly was a need, underscore that.
Lakes Mayor Nelson Crabb joining us on the Ask the Mayor program, a special edition here on KGLO today. And you talked about partnerships between the city and other entities, in this case, the North Iowa Cultural Center and Museum, the nonprofit that runs the Surf Ballroom. You mentioned the Clear Lake Athletic and Wellness Center with the partnership with a school district, those have been partnerships that have been easy to have. Sometimes you run into cases where cities and school districts don't always see eye to eye, or cities and nonprofits like this don't see eye to eye. Those two partnerships, and I'm sure some others, have been good for Clear Lake.
Yes, I credit Doug G. and the school board with working with us on that. Certainly on the athletic wellness center. I don't know which goes first or last, doesn't matter. But anyway, we knowing full well that that could have been a possibility further down the line. But I can recall specifically a meeting at City Hall prior to all that. Was Doug G. and the school board president, and they called up and said, "Hey, we've got an idea for, to add on. We need this, we need that." And so they came down, and would you be interested in, working together on what at that time we didn't specifically call Wellness Athletic Center, but they explained what we needed, what they thought, and we had one answer, and it was YES. Simple how all that, but when you look at it now, and I'm up there, or tried really hard to get up there 3 days a week, 5:30, 5:45 in the morning, and to take advantage of that, there it is, and a lot of other people at that time of the day, some were there an hour before that. They got to be out of their mind to get there at 4:00 in the morning. But anyway, they're there and they're working, very, very hard. And then in the afternoon, and then you go down the bulletin board there and you see where Troy has put up different things for third graders, fourth graders, fifth graders, and the time schedule for them. Sometimes they're bused out there. Sometimes the parents pick it up. So yes, you're absolutely right. We are all working together on that. And then you go down to that area where the pickleball courts are. The pickleball people came. It sounds weird. Pickleball people came to us, and they said, "Hey, we've got X number of people. We really want to do." And so, okay, well, you work together. And so now you got school and city and private group, three of us working together. And that got done with the help of, they even helped put in the new basketball court down there. We all worked together on that. The outdoors one. So, that works. And go way back when I first got on board, the golf course was struggling, and what are we going to do with that? And it was a private group. I think it came on after World War II, and a bunch of veterans got together and said, "Hey, we need this out there," and put it in. Well, it had gotten to a point of where it was in need of financial help as well as others. So, would you look at being partners on that? And look at how far that's gone. 501c3 was written, and here we go. And it seems to be doing well. Mike, help me, basketball. Mike Oyman.
Yes.
Basketball we're talking. He is the manager there now and has done a wonderful job on that. We have a board there. They consist of some members from the golf course, some from the city, some from the community. So, that's what a good community is all about. And that's only one of many that we've got. But to have that, and I always look at, I don't pay enough attention by physical attention to it, but that library that we've got, they have more things happening for little kids right up through us gray hairs that are very, very helpful for our community and make it stronger.
Well, as you have just a couple of weeks left in your term and wrapping up 20 years, I guess my first question would be, if we kind of look back at, some things here. When you came to Clear Lake, could you ever imagine of being mayor, first of all, let alone serving this long as mayor?
No, I didn't even know where the place was. And I've told too many Conestoga wagon stories on that one, but no, we came in, and you have everything with you, and you rent, and you say, well, maybe we'll hang out here 2 years and then travel on or do something different. And 61 years later, you're still here and just love the community. And this is a place that grows on you. Yeah, I can't quite describe that, but it comes right down to what's under the logo, where people make the difference.
Right.
And perhaps a lot of towns have that, but it's a fact. Without people and their support of it, good, bad, or indifferent, it's necessary to make a healthy town.
What made you want to run for mayor the first time?
I had just retired from NIAC,
Right.
the education portion, and got home, and I think, did a number of things that I knew needed to be done around home, the house, and pretty much wrapped all that up. And then I knew that people from the DNR were looking at the lake. And because at that time the lake was not blue, it was more green than it was blue and needed a lot of help. The word was restoration. And I got reading about it and talking to some people. I knew a couple of DNR guys that were actually there, and went to a meeting where the professor from Ames came up, and he had done a huge study, thick. And I thought, if you're going to live here, Crabb, and you've got this time, get yourself involved, because, we were just down the street from the lake, and, would see it every day on my way out of there. So get involved. And so I thought, well, the key way to get involved in this position came open was, why don't you take a look at running for mayor here? I sit here talking to myself about myself, but that's how it all came about. And it's been a fantastic experience. It really has. When each day you get up and you think, okay, what do I have to do? And you aren't sour because you have to get up and go in and do it. That's a plus. That's a win. And it's been a 20-year win.
And that, the lake restoration, and I'll let you answer this question. I'll try to form it in a question. I'm not sure if I will, though, but the lake restoration, probably, if that had not have happened, I'm sure a lot of positive things that have happened in the last 20 years with Clear Lake, the surf district getting the Destination Iowa grant, McKesson coming. I'm sure there's a lot of other things that I am missing in that 20-year period. But if lake restoration had not been addressed, I'm not sure a lot of those things would have happened.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. That's so true. Well, why would you want to come to a lake that was in that condition? You wouldn't, and that was the case. And you go look at the buildings around the lake. You think back to what they were, and so it was so nice and quaint, and they had Yes, that's true. And now it's a different scene that comes around there. Now we don't have the great rural population that we used to have. When we came to town, each class had somewhere in there between 125 to 150 kids in each class. And then all of a sudden it went down to 90, maybe one time even dropped a point or so down from that, So what a change that meant, that even those people weren't coming to town to do things, out of there. So, you have to make that, because now that really does stand out. Why should I go into town? Well, it's this, a lake. Well, I don't know when I go see that lake or so. And so that restoration was really, we got a lot of help from, Sarasota County, from Ventura, from our legislative people, even congressional people were there. Latham was out there, big help for us with the restoration of the marsh. And, water has to come through the marsh to get into the lake. That's the sponge. And that had to be cleaned out to where it really was a sponge for chemicals and whatever else would come through there. Keep the carp out. And, back in those days, you could throw a hook in the water and catch a bullhead, Yeah. I mean, and some of the other days said, where are all the bullheads? Well, let's not talk about that,
Exactly.
Keep on moving. But, and that DNR, Jim Wall, Scott Grummer, and that bunch have really built that lake up to its, number one fishing lake in a lot of surveys that we have around. And just look, just till the other day, till the ice got kind of black like it looks now, that there were the fishing village, ice fishing villages starting to occur, and it's a huge draw. And you don't have to talk about the summer and the Party Cove down by State Park and so on and so forth. It's just unbelievably positive.
McKesson obviously was the biggest economic development win during your tenure.
Yes, that to get to number 5 in the Forbes list in the country and the world to come here is unbelievable. Pharmaceutical distribution firm, that delivers to 5 states within 24 hours. Wow, that was huge. And once again, I remember sitting at that table and going through that discussion. Chad Schreck with the North Iowa Corridor was a big help there with that firm. And incentives come along a way. We had a lower incentive than a specific town across the border, but stop and think of our location here in Mason City as well. Here we are with an interstate. We got a major railroad, and over here, in the case of railroads going through, we have the airport, and a mile and a half away, and it's the Mason City Airport. But we do provide the water for
you.
But location. It was really important, and they said that. And I asked. There was a lady and a gentleman there. I remember them specifically. And at the end, I said, now maybe they wanted me to feel good, but they were genuine people. And I said, well, why did you guys choose Clear Lake? And they said, well, we have been throughout your town several times. And what it comes down to is, and she paused and she said, it's your culture. Boom. So there you go with that little phrase under the logo where people make the difference. It's there.
What are, as we start to wrap things up here, what are some of the other highlights in 20 years in your mind?
I having come here with the school district, to me, and our 3 children all went through there and have gone on and been successful on their own. I think they do a wonderful job. I had just come from a year teaching out in North Jersey, and whoa, this was 100% improvement from where I was. So I do think, and right there you come down to the culture of the kids and the families they come from that come there. And then those who are hired to teach there. At the time, Dr. Berg was there, Earl Berg. And then Dick Glazier came along, both of them strong educators, administrative educators. And that, for me, that was it.
Have you given any advice to your mayor-elect, Mark Ebling, at all? Or if you haven't, what advice would you give him in leading Clear Lake in the future?
Yeah, I have told him, make sure you make the contacts, certainly the contacts with our chamber. We have at this point a very strong chamber. Make your contacts, at the North Iowa Corridor. That's an area deal. And don't neglect those. You talk about working together. You don't have to work together. All right, we're going to meet at 9:00 and we're going to establish contact. This is a lot of times done informally, and you've got to get up every morning thinking that, okay, what can I do? And now it's not every morning, but it's in your head. You're thinking, okay, what do I need to do today to kind of carry that on? And sometimes it just happens, and it's not necessarily the men or the women's coffee groups, that's kind of the informal stuff, which is good, all good. But it's getting out and thinking, okay, is this going to help this town? as it's going to make it any better. And sometimes you don't know when you're there, but after a while you think, oh yeah, this is good, or gosh, I wish I'd have said that. So great town.
One final question, and I asked the same question of Mayor Schickel yesterday. I'll ask it of you. If someone were to write an updated history book of Clear Lake in the near future, how would you hope your legacy would be documented?
Crabby? No. A guy that's willing to listen, not necessarily always agreeing with you, but willing to listen. I have a lot of that'll come in the front out there, and girls will come back and say, so-and-so and so-and-so's out front. Would like to talk with you. Is that all right? And, I've never said no, so that's, you have to be available and listen. That's key. Critical listening is key, not just to sit there and smile and make good eye contact, but critical listening is listen to what that person says and then really kick it around in your head after they have gone, and how can this happen, or how can this not happen, and if not, maybe you need to go back and revisit with that person, and groups the same way.
Well, Mayor, I want to, extend my congratulations to you on wrapping up 20 years. I want to thank you for being a part of this program during those 20 years. And I know your support for me specifically, but also these radio stations has been top notch through the years. And I can't thank you enough for that. And like you, I believe, mentioned the other night, you're not going away. You're going to be enjoying the community here for some time to come. So once again, appreciate you taking the time out today to join us here live at the studio, as well as for the last 20 years, your support.
Well, thank you very much. It's not too many places where you can go, and a news broadcaster at a radio station or whatever station it might be, you have this friendly relationship with. And I've always felt that Bob is a friend, not just the guy behind the microphone and the headset on. So thank you for being that real person.
Mayor, once again, thank you very much for everything. So Clear Lake's Mayor Nelson Crabb, and once again, this program will be moving to Thursdays starting after the first of the year, and the mayor-elects are getting ready to be parts of the program. John Lee here in Mason City, and Mark Ebling in Clear Lake. So it'll be 8:30 on Thursday mornings coming up in the future here on KGLO. That wraps up the Ask the Mayor program for today. We'll join the Dan Patrick program here momentarily as it's 9:09 here on KGLO Mason City.
Hey, this is David Van Camp with the Markley Van Camp and Robbins Show. Listen weekdays